All right. So as terrible as this looks, it's really just a matter of starting in the top left corner and working your way down. So the first question, it says, how did you get your data? Did you count it or did you measure it? Because those are the only two kinds of data we deal with in here. Did you count it or did you measure it? So think back to all the data we've looked at so far. That's a stupid statement. Don't think back to all the data. That's ridiculous. It's been 4 weeks. Think back to some of the data we collected. What's one data set that jumps out at you from this class?
Cars.
What about the cars? I love this. What about the cars?
The cards.
Oh, the cards. Got you. So that was, what was that? That was,
Figuring out how many in a row we could get, right?
Right. Guessing what the suits were.
Right.
And then keeping track of the suits, and Brandon guessed 4 in a row, 4 for 4. Was that counted or measured?
Counted.
That's counted, right? So that would send you this way, which would send you this way. It's kind of hard to see on this screen. I'll zoom it in. It's very, very small actually on this screen. But if you zoom in on that, if you count your data, you're most likely dealing with a proportion of some kind, because we're counting. How many did we get right out of how many total did we do? That's a proportion. And that's what we've been spending the past couple weeks actually kind of toeing into, is estimating proportions. Good. Give me another data set we were talking about in this class so far that you remember.
Distracted by driving.
Distracted drivers. How did I get that data? I hid behind a tree.
And measured.
Distracted drivers now, careful. Not the speeding drivers.
Types.
Right. I sat there behind a tree in Boyle with a clipboard. What did I do? I counted them as they went by. I said, okay, that one's texting, that one's calling, that's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine. I put little slashes in a box, and then I added those up at the end. Those are counted. So once again, that's dealing with proportions, and we did that in class. We estimated remember the estimated percentage of distracted drivers on College Way? Do you remember what the numbers were? It's okay. It sticks with me because it was much lower than I thought it was going to be. It was between 15 and 25%. That's pretty low compared to what we all thought it was. We all thought it was closer to 50%, if not higher. So that goes to show you. Actually, what does that go to show you? I love this actually. What does it go to show you that we all overestimated the level of distracted driving? Assuming you trust my sample. I hope you do. You don't have to. But assuming you trust my sample, what does that show about human nature? And how bad we are at being random statisticians on the fly. Why did we all overestimate how many distracted drivers there were?
Because we're distracted drivers.
Say that again?
We're distracted drivers.
Oh, I wasn't going to point the blame at you all. It's possible.
I am.
We remember those negative impact events. We remember the person, and as a bike commuter, I am so guilty of this. That's why I wear a camera on my helmet. I mean, I can't tell you anything about my hour of commuting yesterday, except for the jackass at the Athletic Club of Bend that came screaming the wrong way down a one-way ramp, and I was going to my son's swim lesson. That's what I remember. I remember as he went by punching his fender and swinging my camera into his car, so I got a good look at him on my video, so I can add it to my city council video that I go down there and show to him in a couple of weeks. That's what I remember from my commute yesterday. I don't remember anything else. That's all I remember, is that idiot. So call it an idiot. See, I am emotionally attached to it. So I remember that, and I forget everything else. I think that's why we all overestimate it. We remember the people that are, I mean, I'll never forget the fact when I was out there counting them, like, that car has no driver. Like there was a car coming down the road with no head, and then the head popped up picking up something off the floor. I'll never forget that. I forgot all the 600 non-distracted drivers, but that girl's face when she popped up off the floor, I'm like, oh thank God. It's not an RC car on College Way. So yeah, I think that's one of the problems is we suck at random selection. We need to be forced to be random, and we got to stand out there by that tree and collect data as it comes by. You know, when we, as human beings, we remember those weird outlier events and overrepresent them. Okay, good. Another data set you remember. Actually, Paul, I think you said another one, right? You talk about cars on College Way.
Oh yeah, measuring.
Measuring. What did I measure on College
speed.
Way? Yes, and that's what we're going to start the warm-up with today. And that's really the first data set that we've gone this way with. Other than Del Taco's half-pound bean and cheese burritos, which that was kind of is an innate example, but I mean, you got the point, you measured that too. So if you measure it, then you're heading this way, and I say you're most likely trying to find out about a population mean. So there really are only two statistics we're interested in this class: proportions and averages. All you got to figure out is which one to deal with. Which one are you going to deal with? And this flowchart kind of helps you decide. Notice I put most likely. Notice I put most likely. And this is what I was having that discussion with. The reason I was a little late today, I was having that discussion with a student walking down here. Well, how would you classify this data? I got a question for you. See if you can answer the same way I did. And even if you don't, that's even better if you answer it a different way. If you were talking about the cost of a textbook, would that be discrete data, which would be counted? Or would that be continuous data, which would be measured? Think about that for a second before you answer. Just think about that before you answer out loud, because I want everybody to think about it. Cost of a textbook. So suppose we're analyzing costs of textbooks. Okay. And don't worry about how we're analyzing it. Just think about how you would get that data, the cost of a textbook. Think about it, think about it, think about it. Okay. All right. What do you think? Give me some ideas. What you call it discrete, what you call it continuous? Cost of a textbook.
Discrete if you bought it once, continuous if you measured it over time and how much they increased.
Interesting. Discrete if you bought it once. Why discrete if you only bought it once?
Because you'd measure that compared to how much you spend against your other books.
Oh,
How much you-
comparing this book to this book? Okay.
And how much you'd have to spend per quarter.
Okay, so you still money.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
So let's make it simpler. Money. Is it discrete or is it continuous? I think it is. Because what do you do with money? Well, you spend it. But that was a poor question. How do you know how much money you have? You count it, right? I mean, there's a base unit of a cent, at least in our monetary system, and you count it out. We're not weighing the money. We're not putting the money on a scale and weighing it. Unless you're some kind of crazy drug dealer or something. So you're counting the money out, right? Does that make sense? So that was my answer, was it's discrete. But the thing about it is it can get occluded. That's why I like flowcharts. Always ask yourself, how did you get your data? If you're talking about the weight of a quarter, or the diameter of a nickel, or something like that, that's a totally different thing. But if you're just talking about the money and the value of the money, you count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one of those machines that's laying down. You took it much further than that ball with the whole comparing it term to term. That was fine, and I'm sure that we would want to do that eventually. But to get the value of something, you value the textbook, you're going to count it. It's a base unit of currency. Is that fair? How about BMI? This also came up in discussion today with the student. BMI, body mass index. Countermeasure. Got a vote over here. We have 2 votes over here. Same vote twice, actually. You know what BMI is? Besides body mass index. You know how you get it? You take your height and your weight and you do something to it. Yes, some weird formula involves a square root and the number 703. Take your height and your weight. Well, there's your answer right there. You take your height and your weight. How do you get those? Exactly. You stick somebody against the wall and you strap a tape measure up. That. You stick it on a scale. Bah. Those are measurements. Those are measurements. There's a fixed unit of measurement that we kind of commonly accept in America, an inch and a pound. But there are also, those can be divided up into many, many small segments. So it's a continuous measurement. So if you were doing something like BMI, you'd go this route. But textbooks, you'd go that route. Is that fair? You all looked very worried there when I brought those 2 examples. I wasn't trying to be tricky at all. So anyway, looking at the flow chart and continuing the flow chart, if you come down here, the next question is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? So today, the warm-up we're about to do. Yes, there it is. Isn't that thing gorgeous? Colors. Makes me happy. You know what pisses me off? The German is very upset by that. The German is very upset. Okay. So anyway, what do you want to do? So we're not going down yet. This is called hypothesis testing. We'll start that on Thursday, I think. That's kind of the back part of this course. Once we get into that, that's like the back. Right now, this is all we're doing right now. We're trying to figure out what is the percentage of distracted driving on College Way. What percent of the time will a coin spun land heads up? Fair enough? These are the questions. What is the average weight of a Del Taco half-pound meat and cheese burrito? What is the average speed of a car traveling on College Way? These are all estimations. How fast? How likely? How prevalent? So we're estimating parameters right now. We're trying to figure out how big an average is, or small an average is, or how big or small a percentage is. So which one? Your exam will only focus on this one. That and some good Googling. You have to go do some research for me on the exam too. So your exam is only focusing on this one right here. And in particular, how many? Only one so far. Only one. We're trying to figure out, where are we at? Here we go. We're trying to figure out how big this unknown P is by sandwiching it between a statistic and its margin of error. That's the big idea. That's the big idea of a confidence interval. We will knock on the door here today. This might look terrifying. I hope it doesn't. This is 2 proportions. I don't want it to look terrifying. I don't want it to look terrifying. I might stop talking about it right now, actually. But this is, we'll get to that. If not today, we'll get to that on Thursday as well. The other one is an average, and that one's right here. And we are knocking at the door. We are doing this one right now. 1 average. What is the average weight of a Del Taco half-pound beef and cheese burrito? That's 1 average, the average weight of that burrito. How fast is the speed of a car going through College Way in one of 3 different spots? Yeah, it's 3 different spots I measured, but each one of those has 1 average. The average of the cars in that zone, the average of the cars in that zone, the average of the cars in that zone. Don't get hung up by the formulas. They're done automatically with technology. All you gotta do is put the data in and it kicks out the intervals for you. But the idea is that's what we're working on right now. We'll get to this later on today. We'll talk about bike breaks. Okay? Ish? Getting there maybe? Okay. So this flow chart's going to be, this is guiding us. This is guiding us. We're slowly working through it. And if you zoom back out, it might be easier to see if you zoom, or it might be more tolerable if you zoom back out. That's kind of what we're getting to. We might not get to all of this. If we don't get to all of this, that's fine. If we get to a chunk of it, I'm happy. As long as what we get to, we understand. That's what I want. As Paul, when you came in here, what you said was wonderful. I care about understanding. That's all I ever care about. So I'm not going to rush to get through it all. But we'll do as much as we can in the time we have. Cool? All right, let's do a warm-up. Let's do a warm-up. It's on the resources page. It's a digital one. Right, warm-up for 1025. It's down here. 1025. It's real quick. It's right there. So just crack open, and for some reason I made it out to 6 points. I'll make it 6 points instead of 5. Give you guys a free point. That's fine.